All right, everybody, this is Ross the Fig Boss. So in today's video, we are reviewing a really special fig called Florea, aka Michurinska 10, for those of you guys over in Europe who may know of this fig by that name. This is a fig that was introduced, at least Florea was introduced by a collector here in New Jersey. His name is Vasile, or Herman 2. Some of you guys may have, know him by. And so this fig I've never reviewed, I've never grown it, because actually Vasile himself, who has grown it for many years, has kind of talked about some of the downfalls with this variety. And so because of that, I have decided, well, you know what? I'm not going to grow this because I'm going to take some of his advice and I'm going to try to grow actually some of the other varieties that potentially may be better. And so over the years, I just neglected it, never gave it a thought. And now I'm finding, after getting a tree from somebody, I guess, who just gave it to me, I think. This was just kind of like an extra tree they had. And I said, you know what, why not? And after growing it now for a couple seasons, it's still not really well established where it's planted in the ground. But it's very good. It's underrated. I think it's a very high quality sugar fig. It is rather simple in that sense. But I find this is very tasty. Like in terms of berry figs, honey figs, and sugar figs, this is right under berry figs, and it even has a little bit of fruitiness to it, which we'll hopefully get the taste experience in this video. I actually ripened this, believe it or not, among the very first figs of the year that did not receive a head start. We had Ronde de Bordeaux, Little Ruby, and this fig here produced basically on the same day or two, within a day or two, and so. We all know about this fig in terms of its extreme hardiness. That's actually why I planted it out in the front, in the hardiness trial that we're doing out there. That north planting that I have is not only for a hardiness experiment, but it also has a really, really dry soil. And every single fig I plant out there that I've grown in other parts of the yard, whether I've planted them in different locations or I've grown them in a container as an example, it's just far away and superior out front on the north side. The drier soil completely changes the qualities of these figs. It's amazing how much better they are out there, which is why I'm skeptical to give this fig such a rave review. In truth, it's gonna be a very tasty fig. It's just that I don't know for my specific location if this can be really relied upon. Now, if I plant all my trees, which I will in the future, in 2-foot high mounds or a 2-foot high berm that's 2 foot above grade, I can maybe expect that level of dryness potentially. And so, I have a lot to look forward to, but maybe the average person who's not doing that and isn't planting the fig trees in the way that I really recommend to plant them, you're going to deal with a lot more soil moisture. And so I need to trial this fig in some other location here in the yard. I need to grow it in a container, perhaps, maybe plant it somewhere else. And that's exactly the same thing I'm doing with Malta Black and Improved Celeste. I moved both of those trees. They were out in the front in that hardiness experiment location. And so I decided to move them because I really wanted to find out, especially Malta Black. I even have one in a container. And I should do the same thing probably with Improved Celeste, but I imagine next year I'll get a good idea of the flavor. Regardless, this fig has a lot of other things going for it. I think, the grower who found this, the one complaint he had was that it splits a bit too often. It does seem to have a slightly open eye. I found some ants inside this one today. It has not exactly the right shape, but the figs do hang well. And so that's a good sign. I don't know the rain resistance, and I don't know the hang time. So I have not really paid attention to either one of those things, unfortunately, for this particular fig. But I can tell you that it is going to be very tasty. It's extremely early, and it's extremely hardy, which is a really nice combination for a lot of people. So early season climate or short season climate, this is a great sugar fig. In a more humid place, this may not be the best option. And so for people like me And the guy that lives 20 minutes away, who introduced this pretty much to the United States, he, doesn't have great, at least overwhelming great things to say about it. So we'll see as the time goes on, but let's try these, right, or this fig here, and see what the deal is. I am noticing, by the way, I don't know if it's just because I can see them visibly easier within the fruit, but there seems to be more seeds in here than most varieties. I'll look for that as I eat it, but it's a browner fig, and it looks like as it ripens better and in a drier, more hot location perhaps, the interior will turn a bit red, and so you'll have a lighter red color, which I think the one I ripened, or a couple of the ones I ripened in August were of that color. Now we're in the middle of October, and then the skin here is a browner, light brown color, but as it gets later in the season, it seems like, and there's more sunlight that this particular fig has access to because it's higher on the canopy, it's a darker brown. So these are this fig actually was kind of lower on the canopy now that I think about it. So interesting, but these are kind of the overall thing. There's a void there, slightly open eye. Let's try it. It's very good. Not as good as the one in the spring. You can tell this one's slightly shriveled. It's starting to lose some of that water content. It also did go through the tail end of Hurricane Ian that came through here. But regardless, it's great. It's got a nice, simple sugar flavor, some figginess to it, and there's even a little bit of berry that you pick up, especially the ones that are really well ripened. And so for me, this actually is a great fig. Now, I really like the sugar figs. Between those three categories of flavor profiles, I do find that the sugar figs are something that I find really appealing. The honey figs I'm not too big of a fan of, and they're definitely the lowest on the totem pole for me. I like the combination actually of the honey berry, and I do also like the combination of the sugar honey, which gives a traditional honey fig a bit more complexity to me, which is why Zafiro and Barbalone are better figs, I think, than Dotato, as an example, or Peter's honey. And the same thing with LSU Huye, I think, is a better version of, let's say, Dotato again. And so these sugar figs, they are a bit simple, but they have a nice dried fruit flavor that I would consider figgy, right? It has some of those, typically it's very sweet, but it also has that dried fig flavor, dried, date, raisin, persimmon flavor that is not really that present, or at least you can detect it very well in a lot of varieties, which is really why I love Little Ruby the most. And so I guess the inevitable discussion will have to be, well, Ross, if you had to choose between Little Ruby and Florea, which, by the way, they're very similar flavor profiles, they taste very similar, I have to go with Little Ruby. I think Little Ruby is going to outperform it pretty much 9 times out of 10. The only critique of Little Ruby is when we have this huge rain event. But again, Little Ruby did pretty good and actually is pumping out figs that are, I think, even better than the one I just ate. So the overall quality, I think, is more consistent. There's even a better flavor in Little Ruby, but still, I think everybody who grows this fig would be happy. And I want to thank you guys for watching this one. Please hit that subscribe button. Check out our blog. We talked a lot about flavor profiles in this one. And so we just created on the blog the fig flavor profile sheet that was on the spreadsheet. We moved it over and improved it to the website. So check that out, figboss.com. Hit the subscribe button. See you guys for the next one. Take care.